This is the story of Antonio Simpkins. 23-year-old Julian Williams, who was born in Baltimore, Maryland, moved to Augusta, Georgia at a very young age with his father, Markeith. His father said he wanted a better life for the two. In 2011, when Julian was 17, he was over a friend's house playing video games. It was other guys over there too. And Julian was getting the best of one of the guys, and he didn't like that too much. So he stood up, pointed a gun at Julian, and shot him point blank in the heart. The doctors gave Julian a 20% chance to live, and he beat the odds. He pulled through. They was calling his survival a miracle. But the shooting changed Julian. His mobile skills, the way he was thinking, he was delayed with a lot of stuff. He had short-term memory loss. One of his cousins said that he would get in the shower, get out, get dressed, and then he will get right back in the shower. He basically had to relearn everything, but Julian's big concern was graduating with his class. So his auntie worked overtime in helping him to do that, and it worked. He got to graduate with his people. Even though Julian was labeled disabled, he was tired of living at home. He felt that he's still able-bodied, he still can walk, he could talk. He was still a little delayed when it comes to the mind, but he felt like he could live by himself. And that's what he did. Even though his father was a little nervous about it, he let his son be free. On March 25th, 2017, Julian went to a basketball game with his cousin. While at the basketball game, his cousin is noticing that Julian ain't really into the basketball game. He's all into that phone. Then she noticed that he was texting a girl back and forth. That's what had his attention. When she dropped Julian off later that night, she decided to text him around 1 or 2 a.m. because ever since the shooting, Julian has a hard time of sleeping. And she said Julian always texts back. But this night, he did not. She texted Julian 2 more times and still didn't get any answer. When the sun came up, she texted Julian's father, asking him, have he heard from him? And that's when Julian's father decided to go to his apartment. When he got to his apartment, he noticed that it seemed like Julian had left in a hurry. He had half-eaten food, he had clothes everywhere. So this was when they started to worry. Julian's father asked for the footage from the camera that was in front of his apartment building. And on that footage showed Julian leaving his house after his cousin had dropped him off, standing on a corner waiting for a cab to pick him up. About 48 hours had passed and still no word from Julian. So his family decided to try to track down the cab driver. They was literally standing on the corner flagging down cabs. And that last cab that they flagged down knew exactly who Julian was. The cab driver told the family that he was wondering what happened to Julian because he dropped him off in a sketchy area. He dropped Julian off on Spider Web Road, which was in Beach Island, about 20 miles from Augusta, Georgia. Julian's family pulled up to Spider Web Road. It was full of abandoned trailers. I was about to sit. I gotta watch my mouth. It was men standing around everywhere looking at them. Julian's father and uncle was kicking in the doors of the abandoned trailers looking for him, but still no Julian. 72 hours has passed and Julian's family is just now reporting him missing. The police felt like they lost a lot of valuable time with the late report, but the first thing they did was pull Julian's phone records. The cab driver said that Julian was trying to make a call all night. He even had asked the cab driver to use his phone as well. So whoever he was calling was not answering. The police also decided to go to Spiderweb Road, and they wasn't welcome over there. The detective said even some of them, boy, I keep on want to say, the detective said even some of them men was like, you're not welcome over here. So they didn't get no information from Spiderweb Road. About a week into his disappearance, Julian's father got a text message from a fake number saying, I know where your son is at. His ex had me kidnap him and beat him up for talking to another female. I told him to meet me in Beach Island, but I made him walk home. One of Julian's friends forwarded a picture to his father saying that this is the girl that he has been talking to. Julian's father thought that it was one of the members from the church. They had actually called her in for questioning, and she said, that's not me. The detectives had the cab driver show them exactly where he had dropped Julian off at. And on April 26th, they brought out the cadaver dogs. So it's been about a month since he disappeared. And behind one of the abandoned trailers, the dog got a hit. Julian was found in a shallow grave with his shoes missing. He still had his watch on, which was identified by his father. Julian was shot 3 times in the back of the head. But what made him go to Spiderweb Road? The detectives decided to focus on the picture Julian had in his phone that he had showed his friend. It was just one picture, and the picture looked grainy, like someone had copied it off the internet. Looking further into Julian's phone, Julian didn't know this lady. This picture was sent to him, and he was hoping to meet the girl on the picture, but the detectives couldn't figure out where this number was coming from. So they decided to contact another young lady in Julian's phone that he had been texting for about 2 hours straight the day he disappeared. When they called the young lady in for questioning, she not only said that she knew Julian, but that she was possibly pregnant with his child. She also told the detectives that she lived with somebody, her boyfriend, and she thought her boyfriend had something to do with Julian's disappearance. Who's her boyfriend? Antonio Simpkins. She also told Antonio that she thought that she was pregnant with Julian's baby as well. And of course, Antonio is shitty about this. They got 2 children together, they live together. So he's angry. The detectives confiscated Antonio's phone. Now, he kept saying that his girlfriend was trying to set him up. He didn't want to hand over his phone. And when he did hand it over, he refused to unlock it. When the police finally got their hands on it, it took them 3 days to go through his phone, and they finally found that picture. When Antonio found out about Julian impregnating his girlfriend, he got shitty. He made a fake account. He got the pictures off the internet, made a fake number, lured Julian to Spiderweb Road, and killed him. And he was not alone. His friend Steven Jackson helped bury Julian. Antonio just kept lying. He said they was wrestling and the gun went off. He kept saying it was an accident. Anything but just saying you did what you did to this young man. Oh, and I forgot to mention, they also thought that it was the guy that shot Julian in the heart in 2011 that did this at first, but he was in jail at the time of Julian's disappearance. But back to these two. Antonio Simpkins was charged with felony murder and sentenced to life in prison. Steven Jackson was charged with concealing a death. His bond was 125K, and he had made bond, but I didn't see anything else about him doing time or the amount of time if he even did any time. But the girl wasn't even pregnant. The girl wasn't even pregnant. That's what all of this. And bitch, you ain't even pregnant. You just around here playing games and shit. Somebody done lost their life. Yellow tape. What the hell y'all think?